Thank you everyone for watching this video. I'm Brian Kaminsky, a public outreach professional, and I'll be your moderator for this evening's presentation. Our agenda today includes, we'll go over some introductions of who's going to be speaking. We'll have a bit of a background, talk about the study that we conducted back in spring of 2019. We'll go over the 60% design plan, our proposed schedule, some of our benefits, the benefits of the project, some questions that you may have. We'll leave contact information for you to get a hold of us after this recording is over. We also plan to have another public meeting closer to the beginning of the construction, which would happen in early 2022, and we'll be communicating with the public throughout the entire process. So I'd like to spend a couple of seconds and introduce everybody, introduce the speakers for today. Jeff Callentine is our Deputy Director of Public Works with the City of La Vista, and Pat Dowes is our city engineer with the City of La Vista. They partnered with HGM Associates, a local engineering firm that focuses on transportation and roadways, as well as Trek Design Group, which is a specialty engineering firm that focuses on subsurface reportings and presentations of data from receiving information under the surface. So with them is going to be Brock Barron, Associate Partner, and Fortino Ramirez, a Project Engineer. And so with that being said, I'd like to hand it off to Pat Dowes, the City of La Vista, to discuss the backgrounds and the needs for this project.
Evening, my name is Pat Dowse with the City of La Vista, City Engineer. A little bit of background into this project. The neighborhood was SID number 4, the original SID that became the City of La Vista. It's bordered on the north by Harrison Street and on the west by 72nd Street. To the east would be the sports complex, and to the south would be the elementary school. Approximately 67 acre parcel, like I said, constructed approximately 1959 to 1960. The project has been on the radar for quite some time. The pavement condition has been rough. As we understood, as we kind of looked in, and we'll talk a bit about the background here, we understood that there may be some subsurface concerns as well, which was the intent behind getting the evaluations done in 2019 to understand what all may be a part of the project. Again, the goals of the project were to evaluate the existing streets and the sanitary sewers throughout the neighborhood, to extend the service life of both systems up to 50 years, to prepare final design specifications and plans, and to put those out to bid to a contractor to complete the project. Just a little bit of terminology background. What you see in front of you is what would probably be underground in most situations here. What you see is the roadway, and you'll see the storm sewer inlets. What you may not see is the sanitary line, the public line, or the trunk line, sometimes you'll hear referenced. And as what goes into the house would be the service, the sanitary, either the sanitary service or the sanitary lateral, as what it'll be described as. And then on a separate system, you may also hear is the storm sewer system. And like I said, you see the inlets on the curb, and those are connected through a lateral to the trunk line or the main system of the storm sewer. And with that, I will turn it over to Brock Barron with Trek Design.
Thanks, Pat. Like it was mentioned, I'm Brock Barron with Trek Design Group. One of the first things we want to do is get out there and study the sewer system. In a situation like this, when you have a lot of issues with the pavement, that typically means that you have I&I issues underground and into the sanitary system. So there was two major components to this. When we got out there, the first thing was sending a 2-person crew out there to look at the manholes, basically manhole inspections, look at the condition of it, see if there's anything missing, any major issues with it. And then the next part is called CCTV, which is closed circuit televising. Basically, we send a robotic camera into the sewer system to videotape the sewer and perform a condition analysis of the sewer. So that was done. And pretty typical of this age of the system and the materials, there were a ton of root intrusions basically in the joints. And one of the main things was there were roots entering through most every single lateral in the system. So other issues, offset joints, fracturing of pipe, cracking pipe, and broken pipe. With the manholes, vented covers, basically a lot of them had more venting holes in it than should be. Typically it should be solid in a sanitary system. There were also a lot of missing frame seals, chimney cracking, missing materials, offset frames and covers. So just a couple examples of what we saw. As you see, tons of roots, a lot of them in joints. Most of them were in the actual laterals that were coming into the public sewer from the private lateral. Here's some offset joints. You can see basically where everything is shifting underground and causing some issues there. We have on the left you see a cleaning nozzle that's stuck in a joint. Here are some lateral offsets, basically the same thing as the mainline offsets, but these are in the private laterals. So when we would travel down the main, we would look up the laterals to see, and you can see a lot of the offset joints there creating issues just on the outside of the public main. Here's some examples of just some cracking and fracturing of the pipes. That was pretty typical in the old clay pipe that tends to be pretty brittle. Here's some more pictures of some broken pipe. The top left picture is actually another utility main that has been cross-bored through the main, so that's restricting the flow and causing some issues. And then here are just some examples of the manhole defects that we found. A lot of material missing, missing frames, seals like that. So after we got done looking at the sewer system, then it was on to the pavement analysis. So I'll pass it over to Bill to explain that a little bit.
Thanks, Brock. HGM did a pavement assessment throughout the area here, basically doing a visual inspection of those and using a pavement rating method. After inspecting those, we score those, and based upon that score, it rates the condition of the pavement. The map is color-coded with the pavement colors. The orange and yellow are primarily roadways that are in fair condition. The red and purple are roadways that are in poor condition. And so you can see about half the subdivision is fair condition, the other half is in poor condition. All right, also in addition to doing the visual inspection of the roads, we did a coring of the existing pavement out there. The original pavement was Portland cement concrete pavement. And as you can see here in the photos, we've got conditions there where it's, maybe 6 inches to 5 inches in some areas. And then the current standard for actual pavement thickness is 7 inches. Over the years, it's been overlaid with an asphalt overlay, which is the blacker material there. It's been patched, and as you can see, that kind of varies, although primarily most of the overlay is 2 inches through the area, but you can see on that 69th Street photo, there's some areas where it's, less than an inch. And as you can see, 69th Street, even total with the overlay and the concrete thickness, it's less than 6 inches. So that's kind of substandard there. Here are just some pictures of the neighborhood, and you're probably well aware of some of these things. There's issues with potholes. All this has been patched over the years. You can see a lot of patching and along the gutter lines near the curbs where potholes were. And by doing that too, we've also made the curbs kind of shallow with all the buildup of the asphalt at those edges. These are some more pictures kind of showing some of the other conditions that we're kind of looking for in our pavement assessment. Longitudinal cracking, that kind of occurs, the longitudinal and transverse cracking, those basically kind of occur with cracks in the pavement down below that get reflected up, either the joints or cracks in there. Also, those are generally about maybe 10 feet, 12 feet in spacing and stuff in there. Then we'll start getting some block cracking as the pavement ages, and this is generally conditions where the cracking is maybe in the 5-6 foot range spacing. And then we get down to alligator cracking, where you get spacing between the cracks of about a foot, 6 or to 8 inches or so. That's kind of demonstrated by that bottom left-hand photo there. This usually occurs too, obviously, as the asphalt's getting very old, and then also if there's issues with the concrete pavement down below. Then while we're out there looking, there's some other issues that are associated with the pavement. Some of it's the curb inlets. A lot of the curb inlet tops, there's some deterioration or some cracks in those. We intend to, address that during this project. Also, all the curb ramps in the area are non-compliant to current ADA standards. And then also kind of addressing some of the issues that we might have with fixing the ADA ramps. We've got some light poles and fire hydrants and stuff, a lot of things that are in those corners there. So next, after going through and doing all those assessments out there, we went ahead and developed 60% plans. And so with that, I'll first turn that over to Fortino to discuss some of the sanitary sewer issues.
Hello, my name is Fortino Ramirez. I'm a civil engineer with Trek Design Group. I am leading the design efforts for the sanitary sewer repairs. Overall, the sanitary sewer repairs are broken down into 3 main items, which are lateral repairs, mainline repairs, which sub-break down into lining and point repairs, and lastly, manhole repairs. Lateral repairs involve repairing and really exchanging the lateral from the main line to the back of curb. We wanted to keep all improvements to the public street. The laterals are made out of VCP, which is vitrified clay pipe. These, back in the 50s when they were installed, the joints would tend to offset and there was not a nice clean seal. So with time, what happens is roots find their way through there and end up cracking that brittle pipe. The idea here is to replace those VCP pipes with plastic, so they'll be PVC, which have a chemical weld between them and prevents any type of intrusion of water or roots. Point repairs to the main were getting down to that main and repairing those pipes that we previously saw in other pictures that were broken pipes, or you really couldn't get a camera or anything in there. So we'll be excavating down to replace that pipe, so we can have a nice continuous flow and be able to get cameras and our liner in there. The liner will really involve cleaning the main line, getting all that gunk out and all those roots out, and come back in with what they call a cured in place pipe, which is a epoxy resin with fabric that gets inflated inside the pipe, and once it's cured, together with the existing pipe, it rehabs the pipe to a full extent of the life that it's supposed to have. Next up, we have manhole repairs, which will be went too far. Manhole repairs, which will be giving them a cementitious lining, and also repairing some of the holes and bricks that were missing. So that covers really what's going to happen for sewer rehab. I did want to point out some items that you should expect during these rehabs. For lateral repairs, expect to be asked to stop usage of any water or any drain in your home for approximately a day. This will happen at 2 moments: when they do the lateral repairs, that'll be one instance, and also when they come back and do the CIPP liner. When they're doing point repairs, you're not necessarily going to be asked to prevent any flow. The contractor has means to stop flow at manholes and bypass to others in the system, but you will expect to see some traffic or lane closure. Manhole repairs, same thing. It's not intrusive to your usage of water and drains. It will most likely be just closure of streets and intersections. CIPP lining, this one as well, you will be asked when the moment comes to prevent any flushing or uses of water from your home. And also you will, during the process, what they do is they'll line the pipe, and then they'll come back and they'll use a drill to cut out each lateral in the main. Well, when that's happening, it will sound like sirens are going off in the neighborhood. So just beware that it's not an emergency or anything. It's really just a contractor out there doing his job. So that really covers all the sanitary sewer rehab. I will next pass it on to Bill, who will talk about the pavement design. Thank you.
Thank you. So what we've got up here is a map of the neighborhood. The area in red is 69th Street and Emmeline. And if you remember back from the earlier map with the paving ratings, that whole area was rated as poor. And as you may have remembered from the corings too, that the pavement thickness was below 6 inches in some areas there. So what we're proposing on doing there is actually completely removing all the pavement along those streets and replacing it with brand new 7-inch concrete pavement in that area. The remaining streets of the neighborhood in that there, what we're going to do is mill off all the asphalt surface of those roadways, look at the condition of the existing concrete pavement below, go ahead and make repairs to that concrete pavement, and then come back and do a 2-inch overlay on that area. And in addition, all the curb ramps in the area will be upgraded to current ADA standards, so the sidewalks will be removed at the corners of the intersections and redone. As you can see here, these streets have been broken up into sub-areas, and basically these are work zones that they would do, and they will work in a certain work zone until they're completed. Then they'll move on to the next one. And so what we're doing is trying to restrict the disruption to the neighborhood with all the construction work. And so even within those work zones, if there's several intersections that are within that work zone, there can only close one intersection in that zone at a time. In addition, there's 4 entrances coming out, either 2 on 72nd Street and 2 on Harrison Street. Only one of those will be closed per time. And so that will kind of limit the work there. And depending upon the contractor that's doing it, they may have multiple crews. And so there may be some work being done in separate areas at the same time, but they'll be separated farther apart. So that way there's not a lot of disruption in a particular area there. Okay, so this is kind of the way that they'll progress through the construction. And this is in the area of A, B, and C, the red area kind of shown up in the key map in the corner. And so we're going to completely remove the pavement, remove and replace all the sanitary sewer laterals beyond the back of curb, repair any of the sewer manholes, and then construct new concrete pavement, construct the new ADA curb ramps, and then ultimately come back and install the liner into the sanitary sewers. Now in these areas, they will do all those first items up to constructing the new pavement. The liner going into the sanitary sewers will be done after all the pavement is completed throughout the whole neighborhood. So the liner will be done all at one time. this is the plan for the other area. These are the areas that would be getting an overlay to the pavement and the existing concrete pavement staying in place. I guess one thing, about 50% of the driveways within the neighborhood, the sewer laterals that they're going to be replacing beyond the back of curb are located within the driveway or right along the edge of the driveway. And so in that case, those driveways will be removed from the back of curb up through the sidewalk to go ahead and accomplish the sewer lateral connections there. So there'll be some of that work going on, and that'll be limited in scope of tearing up that and try and limit the amount of time that you're not able to get into your driveway. One of the things that'll be done within these sub areas as they're working, they'll only do maybe 4 to 6 homes a day. They'll only do as many laterals as they can do in a day to completely open up the trench, put in the lateral, complete that, so that way they're progressing through there. They're not going to tear up the whole area A or area C or D at the same time, at the same time. They'll work their way up through those areas. And so they'll also use temporary rock to go ahead and fill in areas that they've removed pavement but haven't put pavement back in to allow traffic in there. So hopefully after the laterals have been done during the day, you still will maybe get access to your driveways and things then. Now, when they actually do pour concrete for the driveways, that'll affect it, a longer period of time. Obviously, you have the day that they're going to be doing the pouring that you won't be able to get in there, and then the concrete's got to cure, so you'll be maybe out of your driveway for a little bit longer then. But ultimately, we'll try and keep traffic open and keep the disruptions to a minimum. And so then in this area here, the construction sequence will be a little bit similar, but basically we're going to remove pavement at the sewer laterals. Then they're going to come in, replace the sewer laterals beyond the back of curb, come back and replace that pavement that was in where the sewer laterals are. Then after that's all done within that area, they'll come through, mill all the asphalt out, and then look at any other repairs that might need to be done to the concrete. Go ahead and do that, work on the ADA curb ramps, repair any sewer manholes at that time, and then once all that's done and that pavement's repaired, they'll come back and do an asphalt overlay over the whole area. And then ultimately, the last thing's going to be done is installing those liners in the sanitary sewer at the end of the project. And with that, I'll turn it back over to Jeff to discuss the schedule.
Good evening, La Vista. Jeff Callentine with your La Vista Public Works Department. I'm here to talk a little bit about the timeline, a little bit of history and some scheduling stuff. Those of you that have paid attention to our CIP know that this project has been identified as needing work for quite some time. The issue that we had was that we didn't really have a good funding source identified, and we've been working towards that for a long time. We redid our sanitary sewer rate study, and that allowed us some reserve fund to fund this project. We also have the opportunity to participate in the state revolving fund and apply for a 30-year loan that really got this project on firm footing. Back in 2019, Pat alluded to, we did some evaluation and also some additional funding research to identify what the scope of this project would look like. We are currently in the heavy phase of design, working towards final design. We just finished up 60% plans. And then towards the end of the year here, we'll get those finalized and then work towards some bidding documents with bidding to contractors probably in January or early February. As far as construction goes, we'd like to start that in 2022, and our hope would be to complete that in 2022. As everyone knows, with the material and labor shortages and some things like that, it could impact those timelines. We will obviously keep everyone updated as we work through that process, but we could anticipate some maybe paving having to take place in early 2023. Some benefits, I think anyone in that neighborhood knows driving those streets that the pavement rehabilitation will be a big component of this project. That was actually a driver for this project. The sanitary infrastructure is pretty good. as Brock alluded to, we do have to deal with a lot of root intrusion, some offset joints, some things like that, that CIPP and point repairs will address. We spend a significant amount of time in our sewer department doing O&M in that neighborhood, doing root cutting and cleaning, and that lining will seal up that system. Brock alluded to I&I issues, which is inflows from stormwater and groundwater into those pipes. That'll get sealed up, so we're actually paying to treat that stuff, and it's not sanitary flow material that we're paying for, so we don't want to do that, so that's another benefit. And then updating all of our curb ramps and pedestrian accesses to ADA compliance. That finishes up our presentation. I'd like to thank you for joining us this evening. We will have many more public meetings, and if you have any questions, please reach out to HGM Associates, our consultant, or myself or Pat Dowse at the City of La Vista Public Works Department. Thanks.